And kind of the idea of the piece was, partly I wanted to do a piece that was kind of medium free. So I wanted it to work as a gallery piece, and I wanted it to work fully online, so there's a full online version of this on my website. And I also eventually wanted to work as a book. So all the way through I was designing it so it could be each of these. I've now got to try and figure out how exactly it's going to work as a book. It's going to be a slight challenge.
But a very short book, but with 4 gigantic pages.
Well, I want it to be a proper 100-page thing. I wanted to go back to that, because I've done a lot of comics like this. I've never done something for print like this. So I want it to be that turn to page 5, turn to page 4. But I want it to feel as natural as I can make it, so it's not too jarring. So I'm going to try and carry a lot of the... I think I have a feeling a lot of the kind of language of gaming is going to be really useful. It's going to be things like return to last save point, and you can turn back through the pages and things like that. So that's the plan. Also, I want to find a publisher for it, which I dare say is going to be a challenge in its own right. So that's the piece. In terms of the kind of install in the gallery, I think the gallery has kind of worked for me as like an extension of the screen. So I want the gallery to be deliberately very plain and simple and uncluttered, and it's just the piece you're sitting on the wall, or on the window in that case. And I had great help from the people at the pump house in getting it up, because I'm just not used to doing things for the walls like this. I really like doing the transfer for the window. It makes me I really want to do more work on glass like this. It was great fun. I'd like to do whole comics just on glass planes. And that's roughly the piece. Hopefully, people might have some questions, and then I won't just be standing in front like a crazy person.
Any Q&A?
Did you always think about doing them as squares? I mean, did you think like
it was
the
always,
one could have been circles?
Yeah, it was always squares for me. And when I was putting it up, because we put it up piece by piece, all these interesting shapes were coming up. It made me think, oh, if I was doing this again, I'd love to take the square as a start, and then take away and then take away. But the way I work on a piece like this is I always start from the shape, and I fill the shape. So it was important for me to have a shape I could work from. And the square felt very natural. It's always even for anyone I was doing, it was like, well, it's going to be in like a 9-panel grid. And I kind of looked, well, I've got a month and a half to do this before it's up. How many of these 9-panel grids can I do? I can probably, if I don't sleep, just about do 75 of them.
Yes.
And so this was a shape it was going to be.
I guess the square fits with the filing cabinet.
It fits with the filing cabiet, and it fits with the LP as well, because Pop, because he's
of course, it's LP size, isn't it? Actually,
shape.
yeah.
So yeah, it works, I think. Other people have questions.
It doesn't matter what sequence we read the sequences. Because normally you would direct, if you want, if you thought, what I want people first have go at this and then at this maybe. It's so equal, so you don't really know what to do.
There are these big triangles, which are our one concession to saying this is where you start on each section.
That's the one thing.
Beyond that, it should hopefully be clear. I think it's a bit confusing in places, and we discovered, it was a week before we discovered it, so I'm ashamed we missed it, but 2 of the panels were the wrong way around. We fixed that now. Yeah, apart from the 3 walls can be read in any order, but once you're on the wall, it's better to follow through the triangle.
And you haven't said what's the 4th wall actually going to be dealing with on the online story?
I said, yeah, it's the archive. It's elements drawn from the archive.
Right.
So it's the bits.
It's not. So it's not structured in the same way as this.
It's not structured in the same way. No. Each page is its own thing, and you can kind of pick any one page and read that page. In the eventual book edition, it will be like an index at the back. So there'll be, when you see a panel here, it'll also have a like an index reference with a page number. You can turn to that page to get that little piece of it.
What you could do is have different page sizes at the edge, so you can have sort of the first sequence will be just the same. So the next will be sort of slightly, so you can have direct people like that.
I thought about doing something like that. I think it might be too many pages to make it work without getting confusing. I think Jason Shiga did.
This Meanwhile book. Have you seen this one? Meanwhile, with these incredible tabs. Yeah.
But,
does that? Well, of course, there's also that A to Z book by Lars Arrhenius, which is similar
but
use
I think
of
this
that.
is going to be. I think this is going to use all just.
I think it's
too complicated.
You might get away with if you have got just two versions to read it, then that would be just.
I want the whole thing. I want it to be 100 pages because I like the size of it.
I know it might be different stored up.
Sure.
Yeah. Well, anyone else like to ask Daniel some questions about the work? Where do I begin? We have a great big triangle. That tells you where to start.
Did you work on the piece in these squares, or did you work on each story and then?
I worked in the squares, and I worked in the 9x9 grid, but each just on its own, visible. I actually just how I did it. It's done in, I actually illustrated it in Flash, just because I like illustrating in Flash, and it was done using. So I basically built character libraries. So for the archivist, he was a single kind of symbol of like about by the end 30 different poses, and I could just reuse those poses as I wanted because I needed something that I could do fast. So each, because I had to do 4 pages a day for a month and a half to put it finished. So all the elements are symbols that I just reused and reused and reused, and then the kind of library built up. So I actually started on the play section, and if you, I think you don't know this unless I say it. If you look at the poses are more similar in that section. And then I did the work section, then I did the dream section. So as the sections go on, the characters get more and more different poses they can be in because the story called for them specifically. But I've got, the nice thing is I've got this whole library of characters and poses now, and I kind of do want to do more with it. I'm thinking of doing an Alan Moore thing next. But as it turns out, Alan Moore is really hard to do as an iconographic character because the beard and the
Alan
hair.
Moore as a character?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought you meant a collaboration. Oh, wow.
If it comes off in Paper Science 3, there'll be the New Adventures of Alan Moore, and it'll be done in this style.
Wow.
But I've still got to figure out exactly how to do with the beard because it's a tricky thing to capture. And it's still look like Alan Moore.
Excellent.
Could you, if you wanted to, turn the whole thing into one sequence?
Yes, but well, yes and no. There are sections where, like this section, I kind of just wrote one bit of dialogue and liked it, and then I wrote another exchange and liked that, and they were both saying the same thing. And usually I would have to edit that and decide which I worked best. But I realised for this, I can just let them have 2 different conversations, and there's no. Conversation.
Oh, it's not one way, it's variations.
Yeah, so these variations kind of, and they come back to the same place. So the reader can kind of read both variations, but in reality only one of them could have happened.
Yeah.
So those kind of things would make it quite a different piece. No, and I like that was something else I could explore in this.
So it's not pure. And
it's not really like it's not that kind of classic thing when you choose the outcome. You're making big decisions. In this, you can just decide, well, maybe they said this or maybe they said that. It's just a different way of writing. It doesn't really have any other impact other than it was a way of getting kind of more information into the story.
Well, you get it in some films when there's an explosion, and it's such a nice film, you see it from different cameras.
And you'll get sometimes people thinking, you'll get different kind of trains of thought explored in the film, or maybe they said it this way, or maybe they said it that way. This was just literally, I like both of these, but I can
or these films where you see the same story
from different points of view.
Well, I've got a question for you, Dan, just to tell people that aren't familiar with your other work. What else have you? Because Dan has a table here.
I have a table
piled high with his own publication. So
I have nothing
you can buy some other Merlin Goodbrey goodies.
The closest thing to this is 100 Planets, which is my new, which I'm doing weekly, which is where the kind of style for this came from. Which is a kind of a tour of 100 alien planets, but it's really about life on this planet. Kind of extrapolate out into science fiction. I started on the web doing very kind of experimental comics like this, and I've been moving towards print across the last 10 years or so, and now I'm moving back towards the web because that's where everything is once again moving towards. But yeah, come down to the table. I have a wide selection of strange, mix of surrealist, horror, comedy, romance. I have everything.
And you have a very active website too, of course.
And a very active website, yeah.
Which is on there,
which
is on there, yeah.
Exactly. Any plans for the iPad?
Yes, if I can figure out. Well, we've got a version of the whole exhibition on the iPad downstairs.
It's a sort of taster in a way, actually. It's not the whole thing, it's just taster, yeah.
And if I can, I'm a PC head, not a Mac head, so I have to wrap my head around developing for the iPad. But I would like to do some stuff for it. I was part of I was a consultant for the team developing stuff for the PSP. So I've done mobile comics for that, and back in the days of the iPod Color, I did a whole bunch of stuff for that with the click wheel. So I really like to get to grips with the iPad. It's just a question of finding the time and all the money from someone to really develop stuff for it.
But is it also for you an interesting to actually make money?
Yes. I don't think individual artists doing stuff like this are going to make much money from the iPad. There's too many different apps out there, I think.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'd certainly be interested in developing for it. Because I'm interested in mobile comics and in formats like that a lot.
Brilliant. Thank you very much. Thank you, Daniel.
Thank you.
Thanks very much.